Hi, I am Sangeeta Dhawla and I am going to take you through two very important theories of leadership. What is leadership? Leadership is commonly defined as a process of influence whereby the leader influences his followers towards attaining the goal. Some researchers opine that people are endowed with authority and hence they become leaders. We have the age-old debate, leaders are born or leaders are made. To define leadership, it is a force that creates a capacity among a group of people to do something that is different or to do something that is better. It is a process of influencing a group to achieve some goals. These goals may be self goals or the goals of the organization. Leaders innovate, that is why they have become leaders, and they also focus on people. They have this ability to think differently and lead people, whereas some of us may not have the ability to do both these things. The leaders inspire their followers and they also show personal trustworthiness and self-confidence. Leaders communicate a vision which turns self-interest into commitment towards a particular job. We are going to learn about interactional leadership theories and contingency theory of leadership. We have seen that there have been numerous theories put forth to explain leadership, to explain how leaders behave and to explain things about leadership effectiveness. One such school of thought is interactional leadership theories. As the word suggests, interactional means the leader is not made, the leader is not born, but there are a few factors interact which make the person a leader and which make the others follow the leader. The basic premise of interactional theory is that leadership behavior is generally determined by the relationship between the leader's personality and the specific situation at hand. Sheen was the first one to propose a model of humans as complex beings. He said that given a working environment as an open system, you can have these leaders emerge. An open system exists when there is exchange of matter, energy and information between people who are a part of the group. His model was based on systems theory. He identified that each one of the members in the group is a very complex entity. There is high variation in their internal dispositions, in their personalities, in their behavior. They have multiple motives for doing the things that they are, but they are here to work collectively towards achieving a common goal. They are different in the sense that the salary that a person gets may be his bread and butter, but the same salary that another person gets may be something like security for him, and it may be just pocket money for the third person. So, Sheen says that people are very complex and their motives do not remain constant, but they keep changing over a period of time. So, there is the dynamic nature that is involved in each and every one of us that make us behave the way we do. The goals also can be different in different situations. For example, if we take the formal groups and the informal groups, the goals will be very distinct and different also. Informal goals, the levels of commitment may not be so high, but the formal goals, the levels of commitment that the followers have to show have to be really high. But whatever it is, the person has to be accepted within the group. All the group members will have to work effectively and efficiently towards achieving the common goal, all under the leadership of one single person. A person's performance and productivity in a given task depend on the complexity of the task, depend on the ability of the person, the experience the person has, and also the motivation that the leader gives him. No single leadership style or strategy is found to be effective in every situation. To be successful, the leader first understand the situation and then identify those appropriate strategies which according to him will give them the desired results. He has to therefore motivate his people to work in that direction. Hollander was another person who identified that leaders have specific roles and followers have specific roles apart from the relationship in which they are. On a given task, the leader and the followers are related to each other, but when you separate them from the task, each one of them has their different set of expectations and different set of roles to play. So, it suggests that followership also is more or less like leadership, with the leader and follower contributing to the working relationship. Entire leadership is seen as a two-way process. Without the followers, there is no leader. Without the leader, there are no followers. So, this is identified as one dynamic process, and that too a two-way dynamic process. Hollander says that there are three basic elements in leadership. Yes, it is the leader. He has become the leader because of his personality, his perceptions and his abilities. Then there are the followers. They are followers because of their personality, their perception and their abilities. Then comes the very crucial aspect in the interactional theory, that is the situation. This is within which the leader and the followers should work together to come out of the situation, whether it is in a formal setting or in an informal setting, whether it is a small group or a big group. Leadership effectiveness calls for some special skills. It calls for a lot of problem solving capacity on part of the leader. The leader has to maintain this effectiveness towards working, this effectiveness towards achieving the goals. How can this be achieved? Effectiveness in leadership can be achieved only when the leader is able to communicate well. He has to demonstrate fairness towards all the members of his group. He has to show competence for the followers to follow him. He has to prove that he is reliable. Come what may, he has a solution for any kind of a given problem. And at the same time, he has to be creative. He should not think just the way the others also think. Innovativeness definitely gives him a competitive advantage over the other leaders, other members that follow him. At the same time, he has to develop group identification. It is through his sheer hard work, his motivation, his communication effectiveness, he is able to bring out his group as one successful team that can tackle any kind of a given situation. Auchi was a pioneer in introducing interactional leadership theory after his experience with the Japanese style management to corporate America. Theory Z. This term was introduced by Auchi for this type of management, which is nothing but an extension of McGregor's theory Y, which supports that democratic leadership is found to be ideal in many of the situations. Various characteristics of this theory Z are: there is consensus decision making. When can you have consensus decision making? When the leader is a democratic leader, when he seeks opinions and ideas from his fellow members, there is going to be consensus. He is going to arrive at numerous solutions and out of this identify the best solution and also get the nod from his followers. There has to be fitting employees to the jobs. The job an employee is doing has to fit him well. in the sense that he is happy in performing his duties, he has some sense of job satisfaction at the end of the day. There has to be job security for him. Such kind of feelings will foster more positive behavior while in a group. Examining the long-term consequences of management decision making. The person also has to be involved in decision making process for the organizational well-being. There have to be quality circles so as to bring out the best in all the followers. When there is guaranteed lifetime employment, also the person feels very secure. This will bring about a sense of commitment towards the organization, and then it will bring about better performance and better compliance with the leaders or the structures that are there in the organization. Leadership effectiveness is also seen when there are strong bonds that are established between the leaders and the followers. In toto, there has to be a holistic concern towards the subordinates, and only then will the group be able to function as a unified whole towards achieving the goals of the organization or towards accomplishing a given task. Cantor developed a theory depending on the structural aspects of a given job. He said that it is these structural jobs that will bring out the effectiveness in a leader. She postulated that the leader must develop relationships with a variety of people, a variety of groups within the organization in order to maximize job empowerment and then be successful. There are three major work empowerment structures. They are opportunity, power, and proportion. Cantor felt that when these work structures have the potential to explain differences in leader responses, behaviors and attitudes, there is bound to be greater effectiveness in the leadership. Nelson and Burns suggested that organizations and their leaders have 4 developmental levels, and these levels influence the productivity of the employees and also bring about worker satisfaction. The first level is known to be reactive. The reactive leader focuses on the past, he is crisis driven, and he frequently advises his subordinates. This is more or less like the autocratic leader. In the next level is the responsive leader. This leader will mold his subordinates in such a way that they can work together towards accomplishing the goals. This is more like a democratic leader. Although he follows the participative style, the final decision is going to be that of the responsive leader. At the protective level, the leader and followers become more future oriented and hold common driving values. Management and decision making are more participative. This is the protective level. The final level is the high performance teams. The maximum productivity and worker satisfaction are clear. When there is high performance, there is maximum productivity. When there is maximum productivity, the person feels that he has made a significant chunk of contribution towards the organization, and as a result he is bestowed with a lot of job satisfaction. Coming to Brandt's interactive leadership model, it suggests that leaderships or leaders develop a work environment that fosters autonomy and creativity through valuing and empowering followers. These leaders believe that they have to give their subordinates a certain amount of autonomy. They should not always be dictated. They should not always be led. They should be just given a few ideas from which they can carry off. This leadership affirms that Each individual is unique in his own way and motivates them to contribute their unique ideas and talents so that they can work in a creative manner towards a common goal. The leader must be in a position to accept responsibility for the outcome of the situation. Whether it is a positive outcome or a negative outcome, he needs to show the kind of responsibility and commitment towards the same. Brandt stated that this type of leadership affords the leader greater freedom, while simultaneously adding the burdens of leadership. Being a leader is the end of being oneself. Why? Because there are a number of responsibilities that are bestowed on the leader. He should not only take care of his performance, he is answerable to the management above, he is answerable to the subordinates below, he has to get the work done by the subordinates, at the same time face any kind of brickbats that are there in the process. So, leadership itself is a tightrope walk because the person who is the leader has so many faculties to take care of and strike a perfect balance between all these things. Wolf, Boland and Ackerman have also done considerable amount of work in interactional theory and have come up with a collaborative practice matrix. This matrix highlights the framework for the development and ongoing support of relations between the professionals who are working together. It is the social architecture of the work group that is emphasized. It is a social structure. Yes, because there are people in the group who are working towards a common goal. These people come from different backgrounds. These people come with different ideologies. These people are unique in their own way. And similarly, there are different expectations, different personal values that each one of them holds, and finally, there are the interpersonal relationships that will affect the performance of a given group. So, again it is a tightrope walk for the leader because he has to manage that the entire show runs on smooth and the final goal is accomplishment of the task. Fiedler developed a dynamic contingency theory of leadership based on 15 years research program that involved 35 specific studies of 1600 groups. His theory postulates that leadership effectiveness depends solely on finding a proper match between the leaders and his followers, or proper match between the leadership style of interaction with the subordinates and the degree of influence the leader is able to exercise on the followers. He developed an instrument that purports to measure a person's relationship or task orientation, and he further developed three-dimensional criteria that he believed can be manipulated so as to create the proper match with the behavioral orientation of the leader. This is what he called the LPC scale, or the least preferred co-worker. Fiedler set up a questionnaire containing 16 bipolar adjectives. Bipolar in the sense you have two extremes, very good, very bad. For instance, pleasant, unpleasant, efficient, inefficient, which he prefers to as the least preferred co-worker questionnaire. Based on the answers that the respondents gave, leadership orientation can be determined. For example, if the least preferred co-worker is viewed in favorable terms, the respondent can be said to be primarily interested in good personal relationship with the co-workers. He is then termed as relationship oriented. Contrarily, if it is seen in relatively unfavorable terms, The respondent is primarily interested in performing well and is called the task-oriented leader. There are 3 dimensions which determine the most suitable leadership style. First is the leader-member relationship. How well is the leader liked by the members in the group? How trusted is the leader? What kind of a rapport the leader has with the subordinates? What is the respect that he evokes from the followers? Is the leader friendly? Is there any amount of personal relationship that exists between the leaders and the followers? When relations are positive, the leaders have a great influence on the followers. When the relations are negative, you can expect that the outcome also is going to be unfavorable. Positive power. This is another dimension that has an influence on how effective the leadership is. Power and autonomy that is bestowed on the leader, power and autonomy that is bestowed on the followers. The degree of influence a leader has over power variables like hiring, firing, promotion and salary increases. More amount of power in his hands, more powerful he is going to feel, and more favorableness that is going to be found in the situation. The more positive and negative the action of a leader, the greater will be the influence he has on his followers. Then comes the task structure. The degree to which the job assignments are structured decide the favorableness or unfavorableness of a leader. There is a greater degree of task structure, then there is great influence of the leader on his followers. It is very easy to hold followers accountable for performance when tasks are structured than when they are ill-defined and ambiguous. When the tasks are structured, there is a lot of expectation and trust and competence levels seen by the subordinates in the leaders. So, situations are favorable when the leader is high on all the 3 dimensions, that is the leader-member relationship, the power and the task structure. In other words, if the leader is accepted by the followers, there is a great deal of authority, there is a great deal of power in his hands, and the task he offers to his members is also very structured in the sense that all that the members have to do is spelt out clearly. Therefore, the situation is very favorable for both the parties involved. But in case the opposite exists, all the 3 dimensions are low, the situation is unfavorable to the leader. Under very favorable and very unfavorable situation, it is the task-oriented leader that performs the best. When the situation is only moderately favorable or moderately unfavorable, it is the human relations type of leader that works effectively. According to Fiedler, the basic ingredient of leadership is influence and nothing else but influence. Leadership is a relationship in which one person is able to influence a group of persons in order to achieve a common objective. Fiedler differentiates between 2 types of leadership, that is the task-oriented leadership and the relationship-oriented leadership. In the task-oriented leadership, the leaders are more effective in situations in which they have very little or great deal of influence. He either shows total involvement or he lets the people do the task. In situations which are either very favorable and unfavorable to the leaders, the relationship oriented leader is found to be effective when there is moderate favorableness or moderate unfavorableness. The most favorable situation for a leader is when he knows that he is liked by his subordinates, he has a position of discernible power, and then he is directing a well defined job, that he has successfully structured a job. In effect, Fiedler's theory suggests that leaders who are directive and leaders who are permissive are the two, the directive leaders and the permissive leaders, who can function well given some kinds of situation, instead of stating that he is a good leader or a bad leader. Fiedler identifies the type of leader that functions best in a situation. He says that we should never brand a person as a good leader or a bad leader. A leader who is effective in one given situation may not be effective in another situation. So, if they carefully choose the situations, if the leader carefully molds his subordinates, there is every chance that he can bring out an effective solution that will suit all the subordinates. Once a theory is put forth, criticisms are bound to be there. Similarly, Fiedler's theory has been challenged in the sense that the critics felt that the sample size was too small to generalize the results that were obtained in his studies. They said that his study was not based on empirical grounds. His work also lacked in the methodological approach. There may be any number of criticisms against the contingency theory of leadership, but one thing that we have to note is that Fiedler continues to exercise a dominant place in the area of leadership effectiveness. This was the first highly visible theory that was based upon the situational dimension. It emphasized the importance of both the situation and the leader, the characteristics of the leader that will determine whether a particular style of leadership is effective or not. It also stimulated a great deal of research. Then this led to the development of the leader match program, which applied to the model of actual leadership situations. He has done considerable amount of research and has proposed a new contingency theory, which is called the cognitive resource theory. According to this theory, Fiedler has identified that a leader is a person with extra intelligence. He is a person with extra technical expertise. He is a person who has experience. So, more intelligent leaders can come up with better ideas, he can plan better, and he can arrive at more innovative decisions. Intelligence contributes more strongly to group performance if the leader is directive and group members are motivated and supportive under his leadership. Interpersonal stress also is resolved when the leader is intelligent. He will find out different ways of resolving the conflicts, resolving the stress.